Hi, this is a relatively detailed video on cryptocurrency, and I've called it Cryptocurrency 101, and it's more in the form of a lecture than anything else. Right, why is this video important? Many people do not understand cryptocurrency. They hear these terms Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, blockchain, and they don't understand what that actually means and how it came about and how it actually works. So this video is meant to delineate any possible challenges or queries you may have in terms of how this whole thing comes together and what these things mean. Okay, so I have 6 steps. Now, it's almost impossible to get through the whole of cryptocurrency in under 30 minutes. So what I can do is I have other videos on cryptocurrency which are already quite popular. And so step 4 and step 5 have already been published on YouTube, and you're welcome to watch those videos. This video is kind of the bare bones. After watching this video, you should have quite a solid foundation in terms of why it's called cryptocurrency. What is a public key? Why do I have a private key? Why is it a virtual currency? What is a wallet? So I'm answering all these things, but also explaining the how of this. How does this work? Why do we need these things? Okay, so I have step 1, understanding the basics, cryptography. Now, don't get lost. Don't worry. I will explain all these things, and if you aren't following, I will come back to it. Step 2 is get on a platform. You understand cryptography to some degree, you know what it's doing. Now you're ready to buy Bitcoin, I guess. So you got to get on a platform. And step 3 is buy and sell the cryptocurrency. I'm going to get right in. I'm going to tell you how to buy and sell cryptocurrency. Step 4 is deposit Bitcoin, for example, on an exchange. Now I have that in another video, but I'm just giving you these steps that I would follow if I was someone new to cryptocurrency in getting my foot in the door there. And step 6 is do your homework, and I will get into some further details there about blockchain and all the implications of this. So let's move right in. Step 1, understanding the basics. What is cryptocurrency? A cryptocurrency is a digital asset. Now, usually when you say the word asset, it's something you can see and touch. Now, the word digital is giving the idea that this is something that is virtual. So a cryptocurrency is a digital asset designed to work as a medium of exchange using cryptography. And we use it to secure the transactions and to control the creation of additional units of the currency. Okay, the things that stand out there. Cryptocurrency, digital asset, medium of exchange, cryptography. So what is cryptography then? Why do I need cryptography if I'm using digital currency? Well, cryptography is the practice and the study of techniques for securing communication. Remember that when we trade on the internet, this is an insecure place. So we need to secure our transactions or our communications. So cryptography is the practice and study of techniques for secure communication in the presence of third parties called adversaries. What does that mean? It means there's people on the internet who are interested in interfering with our data, whether they want to steal from us, manipulate it, or have their own gain. So this is why we have cryptography. Cryptography is about constructing and analyzing protocols that prevent third parties or the public from reading private messages. Now, where we are in the 21st century, we are living in the information age. Okay, this is obvious. But our information is no longer stored on pen and, with paper and things like this behind a locked safe. It's stored digitally. Therefore, we need to have an ability to secure this using software. And this is where the cryptography comes in. So in other words, information is an asset that has a value like other assets, and therefore we need to secure it. So as an asset, information needs to be secured from attacks. To be secured, information needs to be hidden from unauthorized access. And this is where the 3 pillars of cryptography come in. And yes, there are lots of pictures in this presentation. It's not just going to be me reading text, please. Okay, so the 3 pillars of cryptography are confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So we need it to be protected from unauthorized change, meaning the communication needs to have its integrity. If somebody interfered with the message, they reduce the integrity of that communication. And it must be available. There's no point having a currency that we cannot trade because between the hours of 4 and 6 in the afternoon, it's unavailable, for example. All right, so here is a crude example of access points, access users who are trying to access communication on a network. And here we've got somebody sitting on a laptop. Here we've got a computer in a house. Here's someone at their office. Here's cell phones, voice over IP phones, ATM, tablets, whatever. All these users are trying to access network resources, and they have personal information which they are sending and receiving on an unsecured network. Now, what are all these funny looking black hats here? Well, here we have the adversaries. People are trying to look at our data and possibly change it. Now, a more accurate picture of what this would look like in terms of network equipment, we've got a user here, and users are connected to a switch. This is just the symbol for a switch. Now, if you're not following this, don't worry. I am going to explain this in more detail. I'm going to tell you how to trade, how to buy Bitcoin, all these things, but I'm explaining the basics. If you do not care about the basics and you just want to buy Bitcoin and not know anything about how this thing works and why there's a key and why there's a wallet, then don't watch the video. This is to explain to you the reason why. Okay, so we have people on a network, and this chap over here wants to talk to this chap over here, and he will send his communication through this switch to this router, and then it goes over a WAN. Now you can see this funny looking, almost like a lightning bolt here, and what the difference is this is the usually insecure channel. The LAN is usually your office or your little home network, and it's more secure. It's more controlled, and here it goes over the internet. And this is very important why we need to secure information, because it goes into the public domain. And the chap over here receives the message, and we hope that nobody interfered with it. And just more accurately, here is the internet. You can see that in real life there are hundreds of millions of users on the internet, and the internet is really just clusters of routers connected to routers, linking users to other users and servers to users and users to servers. So this is like an example. Here is the Earth, and look at all these lines of communication. All these points or nodes are places where lots of information is coming through. And why is there these things kind of in space here? Well, these are satellites. So our information travels all over the place, out through the stratosphere and back in, satellite to satellite, over different mediums, air, copper, fiber, fiber optic glass, under the water, underwater sea cables and so forth. So our data is in the public domain, and that is one of the reasons why we need to secure it. So let's look at an example. Now, here we've got Alice, and she wants to communicate to Bob. And Alice writes a letter. Dear Bob, let's meet for coffee at Starbucks in Boston on the 25th or whatever. Okay, so she sends this message, and she does not encrypt it. So disregard the encryption. Here comes the message in plain text. Plain text means that this person here, if he is sniffing using a packet sniffer, being able to look at packets, he just needs access to the channel, which is actually very easy. And if he or she, let's be fair here, if this person or computer has access to the insecure channel, they can literally read the letter in plain text, meaning, dear Bob, let's meet for coffee in this Boston coffee bar, whatever. And then he or she could change that, and Bob gets the message, and it says, hi, this is Alice. I need you to loan me $500. Here's my banking details. And this is the challenge. So what we need to do is we need to convert the plain text into ciphertext. Therefore, we need to encrypt it. And this is where the key comes in. So we encrypt it. It no longer is readable by the third party who is trying to interfere with our communication. Maybe he has the key, maybe he's got a strong, very good knowledge and he can still decrypt it, but we have different levels of algorithms to encrypt and decrypt. So here's the process. We encrypt our communication, goes over the internet, and we decrypt it. Right, so let's just look at this. This is plain text, Fox. Now we have a hashing function. Note the word hash. Hashing, this is obviously a word you've heard when you're talking about cryptocurrency. So I'm introducing these words to you. A hashing function takes place where we merge the cryptographic hash function or the algorithm which changes Fox into something else. And this is now a ciphertext. Now just note, here we have the red fox jumps over the blue dog. Now we have a certain algorithm that runs and hashes it. Hashing means we convert all these letters here into a different format based on a certain set of rules, which I will show you, and we get this output. So this is actually meaningless. Unless you know the key, you can't, this is meaningless to you. So this is the plain text, this is the ciphertext, and this is the hashing function, converting the plain text into ciphertext. Right, so we're moving on now. The word cryptography, when you think about it, or when you do a search, you can see that there are other words that come together with this in this cluster of this topic, or this, sorry, the subject of cryptography. We have something called integrity. I've discussed that. Don't change the message. The message must be unchanged. Message, I spoke about that. A sender and a receiver. Of course, one person is sending, one person receiving. Computation. Why is computation necessary for cryptography? Well, now we come to the mining. Remember, somebody has to make sense of these transactions. Somebody has to verify the transactions. Somebody has to, also, no, I keep saying somebody, but I mean a computer or a CPU has to apply an algorithm to change your private key into a public key. Look at the word key. Algorithm is a set of rules. So if it's an A, add 5 minus times this plus this, and you will see what I mean by I say algorithm with a set of rules. Remember I spoke about plain text, a code, digital, yes, encryption, means of exchange, an exchange. Data, all of this is data. It must be a secret, public. The information travels in the public domain. We have a substitution. Substitution has to do with the cipher. We substitute, maybe instead of an A, we will use a Z, for example. So we substitute something in place of that so that the adversary, the person who's trying to steal our information, does not know. Authentication. So these are words. Now you can see how these come together, and it all happens on a network. And there is a stream, a data stream, constant data stream. We have patterns. And there we see a block. I'm sure you've heard of the term blockchain, block. Right, moving on. So just an example. Here's plain text, A, B, C, D, E, all the way to Z. And here's the ciphertext. Now, we convert A to a capital A, and we give it a value, 0, 0. So this is called modular 26. If you're not following this, don't worry. Just look at the pictures. So I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 25. So this is called modular 26 because I have 26-bit positions or numbers. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4. So in binary, we start counting from 0. So I don't have 25, I have 26 because don't forget that 0 also holds a position. All right, so now what we're going to do is apply the rule. Now, use the additive cipher. This is just a rule. So we're saying that whatever you do, add 15 to encrypt the message, hello. For example, I have a plain text and I want to send it to you. The plain text is hello. I'm going to use modular, I'm going to use the key of 15. Now I've already converted this to modular 26. For example, H is 7. Where did I get that from? Well, remember I showed you A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. H is 7. So H is represented represented by or substituted, remember that word, by 7. So 7, 4, 11, 11, 14. Okay, perfect. So I've converted the plain text into a substituted numbering system. So I've got 7, 4, 11, 11, 14. But that's not an encryption. In order to encrypt it, I need to apply a rule. So the rule said, just add 15 to everything. Right, so 7 plus 15. The rule I'm using is mod 26, and the cipher text is now 22, because 7 plus 15 is now 22. So going back, you'll see 22 is sitting here with a W. So when I say add 15 to every one of my plain text numbers, I now get an output that says WTAAD. Now that is the cipher text. That means that when I transmit my message after applying mod 26 and the rule of 15, I will then be transmitting WTAAD. All right, so that's a very basic example. And I will encrypt it and somebody will have to decrypt it knowing the rule. Okay, so the rule is minus 15. Then if I'm minus 15, I can then read the message. Now, please don't think that cipher cryptography is that simple. Let's take another look. Here we have a plain text called enemy attacks tonight. Now you could change this into rows. Enemy attacks tonight. And then shift the columns. And now look what happens. So you created a rule. Separate this into 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4, 5 rows of 5 characters. And then take each each column and shift them by a certain amount. And as long as the receiver knows how to decrypt this message, he will be able to take this mumbo jumbo message here, gobbledygook, and actually decrypt it. Right, so now you're getting to understand what cryptography actually is. So this will get transmitted in the public domain through the routers and switches all over the world, whatever. And there comes the ciphertext that only if you know which column had to be shifted and which row had to be put first, second, third, fourth, will you be able to decrypt this message. Now, please note, people got this idea that, oh, you send a WhatsApp and you live in this street and you're sending it to someone, your neighbor who lives next door to you. Please don't think that the transmission just goes from one router to another. No. Actually, unless you're on Wi-Fi, yes, you're within the same network. But if you're going through your telecommunications company, your message may even leave the country. You may go through at least 8 or 9 routers before your little message goes to your neighbor, if you're going through your telecoms company to his telecoms company, just by the way. Right, so it gets way more complicated. We get large bits that are used. And just to give you an example of how much complexity gets involved, we now have different types of permutation, different types of compression. We add just floating bits, so we increase the size of the block just to make it complicated. We shift the blocks up. We could split them into blocks of 4, then swap them, split them, combine them, shift them 3 places to the left, and so on. So just to give you an example, DES is a common format, and just to give you an example, here's the plain text and here's the key. We use this key to get that ciphertext. It's very difficult to decrypt that. And just to show you how powerful these keys can actually be, here's the plain text. And all you changed was the one on the far right here. Use the same key. And look at the ciphertext. The text that gets transmitted over the internet or to, over the public domain, look at the difference. You just changed one digit here from a 0 to a 1. You use the same key, same hashing function, and look at the ciphertext. There is no similarity between this ciphertext and that ciphertext. So this is what I'm talking about when I say that the cryptography does use computer power. And that is why these things require software and CPU to work. All right, now let's get back to the currency. Now, money can be in two forms, commodity or fiat. Now, the two kinds of money, we have commodity money, fiat money. Commodity money takes the form of a commodity with an intrinsic value, meaning gold, silver, cigarettes, something you can actually barter for exchange. For example, in the old days, people backed their currency with gold. And actually, most first world countries do not do this anymore, but older economies actually had gold reserves. And you might find that it's quite interesting to see who's buying gold. I mean, for some reason, there's a lot of gold being bought in Russia at the moment. Their banks are buying a lot of gold, more than anybody in the world. I don't know what that's about. But anyway, most economies are moving away, or have already moved away, and they use something called fiat money. Fiat money is used because of government decree. They say $10 is $10. It actually doesn't have a value. It's a piece of paper. In the old days, that $10 could be was backed by actually a commodity, but it doesn't work that way anymore. So examples are coins, currency, check deposits. It doesn't actually have an intrinsic value. Now, what is a currency then? Currency is money in any form when in actual use or circulation as a medium of exchange, especially circulating banknotes and coins. Now, money is any item or verifiable record. Very important, because money is also a record of exchange that is generally accepted as payment for goods and services and repayments of debts in a particular country or socioeconomic context. So money is historically an emergent market phenomena, establishing a commodity money, but nearly all contemporary money systems are based on fiat money. Nowadays, money is just there by government decree, which actually brings into the topic politics and how the banks in certain countries or the financial systems are run. Because if investors do not feel that the political system has stability or integrity of a certain country, they won't trust that money, meaning that the money will devalue. So fiat money is a currency without intrinsic value, established as money by government regulation or law. It was introduced as an alternative to commodity money and representative money. So instead of walking around with gold coins and, food and stuff to barter with people, we use a representative value, and that's the cash note or whatever. And just to give you an example, this is what happens when you don't have actual commodities behind your currency. For example, this is a $100 trillion note from the Bank of Zimbabwe, which had that's called hyperinflation, because of their political instability, that other countries did not want to invest in them. And then what happens is their money loses value. But if their money was backed by actual gold, then what you would do is you could actually just base it on the gold. It's not just by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. It actually has a value, the value of gold in dollars. Okay, so what is cryptocurrency then? Now we're coming to the question. What is cryptocurrency? Cryptocurrencies are classified as a subset of digital currencies and are also classified as a subset of alternative currencies and virtual currencies. So most important thing is they are still fiat currencies, meaning that a cryptocurrency isn't backed by gold. So if, for example, tomorrow, if Bitcoin just bursts, the bubble is burst, you can't just say, oh, well, I had this many coins, can I go get my gold equivalent? No. Just like what happens in countries who have hyperinflation, they just lose the value of their money, their pensions or whatever, all their savings just loses the value. So this is one of the challenges. Okay, virtual currency. What is a virtual currency? Because here in the definition of cryptocurrency, I use the word virtual. Virtual currency. So virtual currency or virtual money is a type of unregulated digital money which is issued and usually controlled by its developers. Now note, not a bank, it's software developers, and are used and accepted amongst the members of a specific virtual community. Those who are trading Bitcoin, for example, Litecoin, this is a community of people who are trading and believe that this means of exchange is viable. Now, the European Banking Authority defined virtual currency as a digital representation of value that is neither issued by a central bank or public authority, nor necessarily attached to a fiat currency, but is accepted by natural or legal persons as a means of payment and can be transferred, stored, or traded electronically. So this is a big problem. For example, there's no bank. People are accepting it as a means of exchange. It's unregulated. There is no central authority. So this is a complete change in the way we see finance and money. For example, here you got person A. He's got actual dollars. Literally, he's holding his cash notes. Now he exchanges his dollars for Bitcoin. How does he do that? Well, he gets on a platform, and I'm getting there. This is not just a lecture on the basics. I am going to tell you about that. So he needs to get on a platform. Maybe he goes on to a platform called Luno, and he takes his dollars and he deposits it into his Luno account or Jax or whatever, and he then gets an equivalent of the rate of exchange at that moment in Bitcoin. Remember, Bitcoin isn't a coin. Please don't confuse. It's not something you can see and touch. I've just explained that this is a digital phenomena, which is a representation. It's virtual, and it only has value as long as a group of people are agreeing with the way this thing is working or taking part in this means of exchange. So you get a certain amount of coins, and then you may transact with other people who equally value this cryptocurrency. And you can also purchase products and services, not necessarily just using it as a means of exchange for paying people. You can buy things. I've bought things with Bitcoin, actual commodities, like I've bought a radio, I bought what else did I buy? Some kitchen appliances, because some merchants will allow Bitcoin as a form of payment. So, for example, you want to pay person B, so you pay him with Bitcoin. He receives the Bitcoin in his wallet and he decides to cash out. He no longer wants to have a virtual cryptocurrency. So he then converts it at the exchange rate at that time to cash. When I say cash, it still may be virtual, but it now goes back into the central authority because it is now managed by root banks and so forth, and he actually has dollars back in his bank account. So this is how this loop can happen, and it can happen in any direction. Okay, so I've explained to you step one, the basics on cryptocurrency, and now you might decide, you know what, this is for me. I believe in it and I think it's great, so how do I get started? Okay, step two, get on a platform. You really will need to get a wallet. So how do you do this? And what is a platform? And do you really need a wallet? Why do I need a wallet? Okay, so a cryptocurrency wallet is a software program that stores private and public keys and interacts with various blockchain. I know this is complicated. I am going to explain it. Interacts with various blockchain to enable users to send and receive digital currency and monitor their balance. Do you remember earlier I showed you about, encrypting and decrypting, and you got a private key, you've got a certain algorithm that runs, and then you lock up your plain text, and then the person on the other side will unlock it. Well, in the Bitcoin system, everybody's got their own private keys, and those private keys should never be shown to anybody else. And it is verified by a third party called a blockchain. Now, if you want to use Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, you will need to have a digital wallet, because the digital wallet allows this process to take place. For example, if you want to send email to someone, you need to have an email client, and the other person also needs to have an email client. So if you're on Gmail and you want to send an email to someone, they have to have an email service, whether it's Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, whatever. You can't send an email to someone who hasn't got an email platform. So this is how the Bitcoin works. You can't trade Bitcoin unless you've got a wallet to do that, and that is a digital wallet because it's happening in software. It's virtual. So a digital wallet is an electronic device that allows an individual to make electronic transactions. This can include purchasing items online with a computer or using a smartphone to purchase something at a store. Okay, now there are plenty wallets, and there are Some wallets are confusing because they might use the name, like you might have a name called Bitcoin, but it's actually a wallet. So now it's confusing because Bitcoin is also a currency and it's called Bitcoin, it's called a wallet. So that's why it's important to understand the differences. Okay, so I've already made this part, so I'm actually just going to play this. Okay, so the wallets. Here I'm on a website called Crypto Compare, and instead of going through each slide on the PowerPoint, I just thought I'd go straight to the website and you can have a look. These are some of the most popular wallets, and some I've actually noticed actually missing here, but let's just look at the popular wallets that are listed on this website called Crypto Compare. What they're doing is they're saying the name of the wallet, so this one happens to be called Exodus, the anonymity, how much of your personal identification is required. Well, in this case, it says it's high anonymity, so they probably do not require much information from you in order for you to trade on Exodus. For example, ease of use, they've rated it to easy, and extra services, whatever extra services. All right, the cryptocurrencies they supporting, well, it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Dash, and so forth. So I'm just going to go through this quickly. The point of why I'm showing you this is to show there are many wallets. Mycelium, Ledger Wallet, My Ether Wallet, Airbit's Bitcoin Wallet, Electrum, very popular wallet. And then also, it's also showing you the platform. For example, Apple Play and the Google Play Store. So, for example, if you go back to Exodus, you can see it's Linux, Apple, and Windows. Usually, this is desktop. Right, now we carry on. We got Electron, Coinomi, CoinJar wallet, UberPay wallet, Ethereum Mist wallet. Okay, and I'm just going to scroll down. Jax, also popular. BTC wallet, also popular. Copay, Classic Ether. You can just see how many wallets are available, and these are not all of the wallets. There are others. For example, on this list, we do not see the platform called Luno, which is not shown here. All right, so now let's get back to the presentation. Just want to see if there's any more here. LiteVault, Mobi, and you can see this on LiteVault only for Litecoin, for example. Mobi is only for Bitcoin. So some of the wallets will only work with some coins. Right, so important aspects to note about wallets. A digital wallet may be online or offline. Offline wallets are called hard wallets. They can store cryptocurrency offline. Why would you want to do that? Because if somebody gains access to your computer and can log into your wallet, they can literally take all your cryptocurrency. So if you can store it on a memory stick or something that is offline, person can't access it, then it provides you another level of security. A wallet, the next point, the wallet needs to provide you with a wallet address and private keys. Now, this is important, and you might be wondering, what is a wallet address? This is like your bank account number. It's the place where people can send money to. So you could trade Bitcoin, you could give somebody your wallet address, and if they owe you money, you could say, here's my address, deposit money into my wallet. So you've got to give people your wallet address. That is not something you need to hide. It's irrelevant. People aren't going to use that to crack or to hack you. You need to, otherwise how will they pay you? You understand? So that's like kind of your identification. So there's, oh, it's going to this person. All right. A private key, however, this is to be kept secret. An encrypted key that allows your cryptocurrency to be authenticated in the blockchain. So you never show your private key. Now I have a video explaining, for example, one of the wallets called Jax. I explain in detail and I show you the actual private key and how to find them and so forth. Okay, so you can watch that video. I will put a link. Okay, digital wallets should not be thought of as being similar to a pocket wallet. It's not like a pocket wallet. A pocket wallet is, a pocket wallet actually holds the currency and you hand it out to people as you pay. But a digital wallet doesn't actually store currency. And that's the point that people can't understand. Cryptocurrencies don't get stored in any single location, and they don't exist anywhere in a physical form. What gets stored is the record of transactions in the blockchain. You see, without the blockchain, the cryptocurrency you have is meaningless. The blockchain authenticates that there is a value. So this is what the important point is that cryptocurrencies are authenticated, not stored. Okay, moving on. Now, what are the wallet address requirements? Okay, public keys and private keys are needed. So when you get a wallet, you'll have a set of public keys. Actually, more than a set. You can get several public keys. You can give a different public key to every person who pays you. So you don't have to have one public key. But private keys, you do not show those to anybody. You need a public address. This is the public-facing key that allows you to send and receive Bitcoin. Without this address, how would people know who to send the Bitcoin to? So the public key allows the public to find you. And in your wallet, you can just tell it, okay, generate a public key, generate a public key. You can just keep generating public keys. Now, you need private keys to unlock your wallet and authorize outgoing transfers from your account. So this is crudely compared to a PIN code. Don't share your private keys with anyone. Anyone who has access to your private key can use your cryptocurrency. So in sum, a wallet acts as a pairing station of public Bitcoin addresses with its corresponding Bitcoin private key. It's a platform. So you get different types of wallets: a hot wallet, a cold storage, and an online wallet. A hot wallet, this is a mobile or desktop application. An example is Mycelium, Blockchain, Electrum. Cold storage, hardware wallet or paper wallet. A cold wallet is not linked to the internet, and this makes it safer, but it's less flexible. If you need to make a payment quickly, oh, what a mission. So some examples include Trezor, Ledger Nano, and so forth. And then the online wallets. I actually don't mind the online wallets because some of them offer a level of insurance. Now, you have to do your homework here. You are trusting a third party to manage your keys. Now, an example is Coinbase. See, here's an example of Coinbase. Now, you've got to choose an online platform which is actually very secure. So this is where you got to do your homework because not all platforms are the same. Now, to be able to spend the coins that you have in your wallet and unlock the funds, the private key gets stored in your wallet must match the public address the currency is assigned to. If public and private keys match, the balance in your digital wallet will increase and the senders will decrease accordingly. So it's a verification system. When you receive Bitcoin, for example, all that is happening is a transaction is taking place in terms of verification. Your key matching, your private key matching your public key, and it goes in the blockchain. The blockchain authenticates the transaction, and then the receiver's wallet changes. But you're actually not transferring anything. You're providing almost like a sum, a value. You're providing you're providing a solution to a maths problem. And if your solution is correct and matches, then it will get authenticated in the blockchain. Now, when a person sends you Bitcoins or any other type of digital currency, they are essentially signing off ownership of the coins to your wallet's address. Private and public keys need to match, and then the transaction can take place. A private key in the context of Bitcoin is a secret number that allows Bitcoins to be spent. Every Bitcoin wallet contains one or more private keys, which are saved in the wallet file. The private keys are mathematically related to all Bitcoin addresses generated for the wallet. For example, here's an example of a private key. You can see this key. Now, I showed you earlier about how the key really changes the ciphertext. Now look at the length of this key. Okay, so you got to get on a platform, choose the wallet, and now you're ready to store your cryptocurrency. Jax, Luno, whatever you want to use, no problem. Now, I also have a video on how to get on a platform. So I have a video on the Luno. This is the foundational information. Now you can watch the videos on how to actually get on the platform, but I feel like this video will be too long if I explain all those things. I do have the videos on it. So now we go to step 3. You want to buy and sell cryptocurrency. So you're exchanging your fiat money to cryptocurrency. You've got a wallet, and now you want to trade, whether it's US dollars, euros, ZARs, and you've got to convert this to Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency. Remember, not all cryptocurrency is Bitcoin, please. Bitcoin is the most popular by far, but there are hundreds of cryptocurrencies. Now, how do you do this? You can buy cryptocurrency locally, in person. Example, LocalBitcoins.com or Meetup. You can buy Bitcoins at a Bitcoin ATM. I really do not recommend that way. But there are some reasons why you would want to. For example, anonymity. Number 3, you could buy online from an exchange or online dealer. Okay, so let's look at these. You could buy locally, in person, or peer-to-peer. So the 2 options that I have for you are localbitcoins.com or Meetup. So why would you want to use this method? Well, you can use cash. You do not need to share information with a bank. But you still need a mobile wallet. You need to be careful when meeting people in person though. So let's look at LocalBitcoins. Users post advertisements on the website where they state exchange rates and payment methods for buying or selling Bitcoins. Other users reply to these advertisements and agree to meet the person to buy Bitcoins with cash or pay with online banking. So LocalBitcoins acts as a third party locating and linking buyers and sellers to trade. So the site uses an escrow system, and the transfer of Bitcoin is made after the funds are received in the seller's account. Now, if you're not sure what escrow means, if you're not, like in America they use escrow, this is a contractual arrangement in which a third party receives and disburses money or documents for the primary transacting parties, with the disbursement dependent on conditions agreed to by the transacting parties, or an account established by a broker for holding funds on behalf of the broker's principal or some other person until the consumption or termination of a transaction. Now, here is a short video on this. Right, so let's look at the localbitcoins.com web interface. The site, as you load it, will locate your region, and in my case, it located South Africa. And then what it asks you is to choose the online offers that you are looking for. For example, these people are saying cash deposit. Then if I do that and I do a search, then I will only find these 2 sellers who are prepared to give me Bitcoin with a cash deposit system. If I want to say national bank transfer, you'll probably find there'll be more people who would be interested in doing it by that method. All right, it's just locating. There we go. So maybe you want to use MasterBits ZA, and this person has got 3,000 plus ratings. So that is a nice feature of the LocalBitcoins. You can see how it rates the traders. And if I would like to do the purchase, I say buy, and then some more information will come up. For example, here are the terms that this trader is using, the bank that they are happy with in this country. They happen to have these 4 banks and so forth. And then the payment window, they're saying they can do the transfer within 1.5 hours. And how much do you wish to transfer to them? How much do you wish to pay? So you can locate people by doing it this way. And another nice feature is that you can also refine your search by in person as well, and that you can find in-person people, and that is why I did put this as still an in-person option. And there you go, you've got Cynthia Moo, and she's got 3,000 plus ratings. So it does help in knowing that many people have actually rated this person, and this is the rate that this person is prepared to sell the Bitcoins in, and so forth. So you can actually locate people and do the transaction. Usually there is a minimum amount. For example, someone's not going to come out for $10 or whatever, 50 Rand, 100 Rand, and there is usually a maximum that they actually do as well. And here you can see this person has rated their maximum. Right. So the second option that I spoke about is called meetup.com. So what is Meetup? Meetup is an online social networking website or mobile app that facilitates offline group meetings in various localities around the world. Meetup allows members to find and join groups unified by a common interest, such as politics, books, games, movies, health, pets, career, hobbies, or cryptocurrency. So let's quickly look at what meetup.com is. Right, let's have a look at the Meetup option. This is www.meetup.com, and this is the online platform. This is the web interface, and immediately it has found my location, and I am in Johannesburg. So you can see these are the common things or popular things that are happening in Johannesburg, and you can just scroll and find things. Now, what happens is they've got their own categories. Maybe you're interested in family groups, tech topics, health and fitness, health and wellness. So see, these are the popular categories. And within each category, you could find groups that have that deal with topics within this category. Right. So please note, this is not a cryptocurrency platform. Meetup.com offers all kinds of social groups, as you can see, even career and business, fashion and beauty, and so forth. So what you would need to do is you will need to find a Meetup group, and just by doing a search you will be able to see, and I will demonstrate that for you now, about finding a cryptocurrency group. And just quickly I'll say join a movement, and then I'll say, let's just say a Bitcoin, and it asks you how within the radius and so forth, and let's just say 50 miles. Okay, and immediately I can see these are the groups in and around Johannesburg that are like-minded people who are looking to do cryptocurrency. Here is a Johannesburg Ethereum meetup. This is a crypto money making guys, 25 people, and so forth. So you can see these are the groups, and you can find this in your location. So that is the meetups. Right. The next one was the Bitcoin ATMs. Now, why it's good is it's impersonal, it's quick, easy to use. Maybe you got, yeah, okay. But the fees can be very high. Now, if you want to locate a Bitcoin ATM, it's quite easy. You go to https://coinatmradar.com. And here's a little video on how this works. Right, so we are now at coinatmradar.com, and this is a website that provides you with the locations of Bitcoin ATMs. And just looking at the map, you can see how in the United States they have the highest number of Bitcoin ATMs. 511 in this area, 316, and so forth. So what you could do is you could locate ATMs using the service, and interestingly enough, it does allow you to refine your search. For example, you might want to pay in cash and get cryptocurrency, or you might want to do the reverse and cash out some of your cryptocurrency. So you must just check that, because just now you go to an ATM and it doesn't offer both the services or the currency, the cryptocurrency that you're currently using. All right, so let me just demonstrate quickly how to find an ATM. You could just search here and you could say Nigeria, and then let's see it locate. There we go. And there is a Bitcoin ATM in Nigeria, and the details should be given now. Let's just zoom in here. So the best way is then to go find a Bitcoin ATM near me. Then I will now go and say, right, I am in Lagos, Nigeria. There it is. And I will then search. And hopefully we will get a Bitcoin ATM. And here we go. It's 8 kilometers away. And some of the details, you see some of them do have a transaction limit. And then I can actually go and get the actual address of this ATM. And there it is. 10 Udi Street, Unit 1, Osborne Estate, Lagos. Right, so why would you want to use an ATM? Well, maybe you ran out of cash while you were traveling, but you have your wallet and you know your Bitcoin you've got your Bitcoin wallet, so you could actually cash out, actually get hard cash in your hand wherever you are. Secondly, maybe somebody paid you in cash notes and you don't want the tax man to know it. So you just put it in the Bitcoin ATM, for example. Then it doesn't go through your bank, and then your bank then paying into your wallet platform and so forth. So this is some of the reasons why people do that. Now, the most popular one is online purchase or sale. And this is the most popular method. However, not every online service is available in every country. For example, we've got Kraken, Bitstamp, Luno, CryptoPay, GDAX, SpectraCoin, Coinbase, but I bet you in the country that you're sitting in right now, you don't have all of these. So this is a problem. For example, Luno wasn't available in Europe until literally a month ago. So you might need to find out what is available in your region, and you can go to https://blockgeeks.com guides how to buy Bitcoin. So here's a quick video on that. Right, so this is blockgeeks.com, and they have some guides. And in order to trade and buy and sell Bitcoin, you'll need to know what's available in your area, and you can use this website to locate your area and what's available. And they have the areas listed, and if you want to go and say you're in South Africa and you want to find what's available, quite easy. I'll just say South Africa, and then I will just go to that. There we go. And in South Africa, they have two exchanges, and they are called BitX and IceQ, ICE3X. If you're in Nigeria, you can also use BitX and so forth. So this is a website which you may use to locate what's available in your area. I know that in South Africa you can also use Luno. Okay, so step 4 and 5. You now know what's available, you know the platforms, you've got a wallet. Now you want to deposit Bitcoin on an exchange and actually trade. And you may want to exchange Bitcoin for other cryptocurrencies. Maybe you've decided you want to convert some Bitcoin to Litecoin. Now I have videos on that, and I will have links, so I'm going to move on because this is a video on the underlying factors about cryptocurrency. And the next thing I bring to attention is, please do your homework. Do you know what a blockchain is? Do you know what cryptocurrency is? Do you know why there's a private and public key? If you can't answer these questions, I don't think you should, well, I wouldn't be trading with Bitcoin, because you may not be able to predict what will happen in the future, although it's very difficult to do that anyway, but at least go to the source. Now, this was the original paper by a person, an entity, whatever, Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody actually knows who this is. And it was a journal, a paper called Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. So this was the birth of it, although there were some earlier iterations of people who had similar, not similar ideas, but, you know, cryptocurrency has been around for a long time. But this peer-to-peer version of electronic cash was born here, and he called it Bitcoin. And I'll just read you the abstract. Now, this part of the presentation is going to get into detail. I'm just going to show you what's ahead. I'm going to explain the blockchain, and I'm also going to explain how these transactions work, and I'm also going to discuss some of the risks. So if you feel like it's enough and you're done, I bid you farewell. But if you want to still know more, then I recommend you actually do your homework, because there's no point trading on something you don't understand. Now let's look at the abstract of this paper. Now you can get this paper and read it. It is written in basic English. It's not like some academic journal paper for researchers and lecturers. Not at all. This is written very clearly. In fact, there's a few grammatical errors in this, so that was quite interesting as well. So it looks like it wasn't really reviewed. But anyway, Bitcoin. Now the person said, a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. Ta-da! That is one of the big appeals of the blockchain. Never mind Bitcoin. The idea of decentralization, whether it's music licensing, accounting ledgers, it decentralizes things and also makes it public. And there are very good reasons why one would want to do this, because people interfere with historical data. Whereas with the blockchain, it's very difficult to interfere with historical transactions. And I'll explain why that is so. Okay, so the person says, digital signatures provide part of the solution, but the main benefits are lost if a trusted third party is still required to prevent double spending. We propose a solution to the double spending problem using a peer-to-peer network. The network timestamps transactions by hashing them into an ongoing chain of hash-based proof of work, forming a record that cannot be changed without redoing the proof of work. Now, this is a bit of a mouthful, but I did explain to you earlier about hashing. You are actually applying a mathematical algorithm, and the output can be verified against another entity, and if they get the same value, then it is acceptable. So once your hashing has gone into the chain, you can't change historical transactions unless you have more than 51% of the computing power in the cryptocurrency world, and I'll explain that later. So what happens is it forms a record that cannot be changed without redoing the proof of work. The proof of work is the maths outcome. Almost like the answer to the sum. So the longest chain only serves as proof of the sequence of events witnessed, but proof that it came from the largest pool of CPU power. Why the largest pool of CPU power? Because the first CPU or entity or group of CPUs that can provide a solution is usually the fastest or the largest power. So they take the role of the trusted outcome. As long as a majority of CPU power is controlled by nodes that are not cooperating to attack the network, they'll generate the longest chain and outpace attackers. The network itself requires minimal structure. Messages are broadcast on a best effort basis, like IP, and nodes can leave and rejoin the network at will, accepting the longest proof of work chain as proof of what happened while they were gone. Okay, if you do not understand all of that, that is not a problem. Now, you can just go and find this on the internet. Just search for it and download the paper. It's like 8 pages. It's really straightforward, and I really recommend you read it, even if you don't understand it fully, because certain words will start to stand out for you. Hashing, chain, CPU power, because this is starting to underpin the inner workings of blockchain, which is actually the big deal here. Bitcoin is not the big deal. The big deal is blockchain. Okay, so understanding what blockchain is and why it's important. A blockchain is a continuously growing list of records called blocks, which are linked and secured using cryptography. Each block contains typically a hash pointer as a link to a previous block, a timestamp, and a transaction data, and it's public. You can actually witness the blockchain. I don't have the link right now, but it is possible. Okay, so let's look back in time. There was a previous hash. We assumed that it was correct. Now we got some new transactions. They were timestamped, and they got joined into the next block, block 11. Now look how block 11 got populated. Various transactions were taking place. Transaction 0, transaction 1, transaction 2, 3, and they had their varying hashing, and the hash then was summed, and it got into the block, and the block verified it and was correct. Now it gets timestamped, and it goes to block 12. So once block 12 is initiated, we can't change block 11 and 10, because the hashing function is used, the outcome of all these hashes, then get put together, and the hash of the next block uses the outcome of the hash of block 11, which was based on the outcome of block 10, which was based on the outcome. Therefore, it becomes very difficult to undo transactions. Now, I will show you more explanation on this. I will go into more detail on that. I just want to bring it to you slowly. Okay, so let's look at why this is such a big deal. Blockchain, changing the world. Okay, so by design, blockchains are inherently resistant to modification of the data. Because how do you go back in time and change a transaction? How do you steal someone's money in the past? You would have to actually change all those mathematical hashings. But then the future, the blockchain that's currently taking place would not allow it. It would kill that transaction unless you have more than 50%, more than 51% of the CPU power, which I will explain. So a blockchain is an open, distributed ledger that can record transactions between two parties efficiently and in a viable and permanent way. Bitcoin is one of many cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin is not a blockchain. Blockchain stops changed, copied, duplicated transactions. Once a transaction has taken place, you can't change it, copy it, or duplicate it. It reduces the cost of a gatekeeper. When you make a transaction on the internet, there's VeriSign or Visa, MasterCard, all these people are gatekeepers, and they act as third parties to make sure that these online banking and online purchases were secure, but you have to pay them fees. It is much easier to transact using Bitcoin, using cryptocurrency. This is true. There are some challenges with this, and I have a video about some of the fees of Bitcoin, which have gotten quite ridiculous, actually. But anyway, blockchain is like a database that keeps history intact. There's no central control. Remember, the block has nodes. The network has nodes. So if you attack one big server farm in Russia, the system will carry on because there are nodes that the system will carry on because there are nodes that verify each other. Computers are networked. Users place their trust in an algorithm, not a human. Google Doc. Think about Google Doc. You know, when you do the track changes, or even Microsoft Word, you do the track changes, then the next person adds something, and you keep following this track changes. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but if you do like academic documents and you're writing on a Microsoft Word, and then you say, okay, you want the next person to comment, and then you want to see the changes that they made, and maybe there was a grammatical error, then they change it, and then Word actually keeps all those track changes. Well, that's kind of like the blockchain, although you can't just interfere with it, whereas Word, obviously, you can interfere. All right, so there's no monopoly in the transfer of money between people, i.e. there's no banks. More than 700 cryptocurrencies available for the blockchain. Currency pays its own taxes. Social networks with no monopoly. Think about that. So it's a social network with no monopoly. Think about Facebook. That's like a monopoly on social networking. They bought out WhatsApp. This is a real monopoly. Now, a news network with no monopoly. Cloud with no servers. Think about that. Imagine we all stored parts of our data peer-to-peer, where other peers couldn't use it or it wouldn't make sense to them. So this is quite interesting because it decentralizes the control. And this is the fundamental shift in the world at the moment that people are coming to terms with in terms of blockchain. And the reason why this came up is because we have a crisis of legitimacy. We have a major trust problem in the world. Auditing firms have been found to be fraudulent. Companies don't always do the right thing. So why not trust an algorithm? Anyway, we can reinvent the financial industry. They can do it themselves or have it done to them. Think about that. Blockchain, it's a second generation of the internet. People feel that blockchain is so powerful. It's like internet was the first major advance. Blockchain, the second. So people are thinking that blockchain is as important as the internet. Okay, publishing platform that allows us to democratize information. Again, decentralizing. Printing press for information is great, but duplicating money is not good. You see, there's a problem. Money can be copied. Fraud. We get fraudulent notes. But that's why we have intermediaries like banks. When you go to a bank and you've got a fraudulent note, their machines pick it up. They use the fluorescent lights and so on, dyes and so on, and then they can actually see this note is not actually correct. Somebody photocopied it or color-coded it or made it, and they're fraudulent, or the numbers don't make sense. So that's why we have intermediaries. But with a blockchain, it establishes a method to allow transactions without the duplicate paying. You see, these two are linked together. Because if we just print currency illegally, we're actually duplicating payments. with the money. So we're actually weakening the strength of the money. Okay, transactions can take days. Blockchain takes minutes. And fees are lower. But this has become arguable. There are cryptocurrencies which have attacked the Bitcoin in terms of fees. There are cryptocurrencies that are much cheaper than Bitcoin. I've now realized that Bitcoin, before the first fork in the road, became very delayed in doing a transaction because so many people were doing transaction. The algorithm, the software was not good enough. But now they are attending to this. So blockchain is peer-to-peer transactions. Okay, now coming back to the manuscript, Satoshi's Bitcoin. What is a transaction? Now, this is what the person said. We define an electronic coin as a chain of digital signatures. Now, that's why I'm telling you to read the original document. This is from the paper, which I highly recommend you download for yourself. Each owner transfers the coin to the next by digitally signing a hash of the previous transaction and the public key of the next owner and adding these to the end of the coin. A payee can verify the signature to verify the chain of ownership. Remember, we don't actually transfer money, we verify. That is why the word verify is here. You sign it using your private key, and the next transaction verifies, the transaction is verified in the block. So based on the owner's public key matching his private key, his signature, from the hash of the previous transaction is verified, and it keeps verifying. So it's a chain of digital signatures. Now here, each one of these chains becomes a blockchain. So a new block of transactions includes the security hash of the previous block. So each time we add a block, we are actually almost like solidifying the transactions that have happened historically. Now, multiple computer mining servers check the validity of the blocks in the chain. The quickest to check the latest block gets payment. Now, who's doing all this verification? Well, that's the miners. And why would somebody do that or have a computer to do that? Well, they get fee. They get paid to run these verifications and to run the blockchain. So the first miner or server farm to come up with the correct verification gets the fee, and the blockchain continues. And if some other miner comes with a alternative, or what's it, when you haven't got parents, there's a name for it, orphan block occurs, that's when the hashing function did not match the highest CPU output from the complete nodes. All the nodes match together, so therefore it gets rejected. And I will discuss this. This is actually a risk. Okay, so another slide just to really seal the deal here. I'm making a hash of it. Input transaction A, any length of data. Output, here we go. There is a hashing function. Transaction A, hash value, hash. Transaction B, hash value of A and B. These are called Merkle trees. It's in the paper when you read it. And these get combined into a block with a timestamp and a nonce. The header then becomes part of a cryptographic puzzle solved by manipulating a number called the nonce. Once a solution is found, the new block is added to the blockchain, and these get finalized. Okay, so here's another picture, and that's coming to the end of this presentation. Okay, something called proof of work. So these are the transactions that have taken place, and these are the outputs, for example. Now look here, it says proof of work. This is the output that the miner presents. Now notice there's always got to be the previous block. Now the proof of work is proving that the miner did the work and got a certain validity value. Now, if you look at block 2, in order for block 2 to actually take place, it has to look at the previous block, look at the proof of work, which was already accepted by the entire blockchain, hashing all these functions together, plus the nonce, was 0.009857VVV, then it uses that plus the outcome of the next batch of transactions and provides its own value, and then that value gets used as the proof of work for the next block using the outcome of these transactions and the hashing function and so forth. Okay, now this says, hi, I'm a Bitcoin miner. I code hashes that bundle timestamp transaction together into a block. Remember, for a block to be called a block and to be validated, it needs a timestamp, a unique cryptographic signature, previous hash, an asset or transaction data, and that is called a block. So this is why I keep showing these pictures. Proof of work, timestamped, transaction value, and a cryptographic signature. Okay, so what are the risks? Finally, this is the end of the presentation. Okay, some of the risks that I've identified is not just me, but your keys could get stolen. Literally, if you give someone your PIN code on your bank card, they can literally just withdraw your money. Well, it's the same with Bitcoin. If you give someone your private keys, it's gone. And the difference is, your bank usually has insurance. If someone steals your credit card and they go and buy air tickets and so forth, some of these things are traceable, and you probably will, probably get your money back. Well, I know in South Africa, the banks are quite good like that. When there's fraud that happens on your account, most of in my experience, it's happened to me, the money gets reversed. But in Bitcoin, in cryptocurrency, for example, Bitcoin, it's very difficult to trace this. And in fact, most of the time, it's like, who's going to help you? Because it's also unregulated. You ain't going to the police, the local police, and saying, oh, my Bitcoin was stolen. Well, they won't even know what to do. It's also subject to policy changes in various countries. In China, they suddenly make a decision, they don't want these type of exchanges and so forth. And then the price of the Bitcoin changes, There are disputes amongst these software developers. Remember I said earlier that this is based on software developers. It's not based on banks. So every now and then the developers have a disagreement and there's a fork in the road, and that sends the community in for a loop. And, the values of the Bitcoin, could change quite considerably. The Ethereum, it's mostly, the reason why I keep saying Bitcoin is because Bitcoin is the one in the public mind. People, when they say cryptocurrency, they think Bitcoin. There have been forks in the road in other cryptocurrencies. But coming back to Bitcoin, because this is what most of the people are interested in, it's very unpredictable. And the next thing is the 51% attack. What is the 51% attack? The record of all past Bitcoin transactions is known as the blockchain. But this information isn't stored in any central server. The blockchain is stored across multiple pools and continuously checked and rechecked. That's what makes it so powerful, actually. Periodically, a mining pool will mine a block that isn't part of the conventional blockchain. And this is known as an orphan block. This is an orphan block. So this series of miners carried on mining, and it was actually incorrect. So it gets disregarded because here is the main blockchain. And then some orphans happen, and then it gets disregarded, right? So when the orphaned block is validated against the pre-existing blockchain, it will be discovered and tossed out of the pool. The diagram below shows this process because the outcome here will no longer match this, and this chain will then get disregarded. In the graph above, the purple block are orphan blocks, while the black blocks are the validated blockchain. When two or more blockchains are presented for validation, the Bitcoin protocol declares that the valid blockchain is the blockchain that's been worked on the most. What do you mean worked on the most? It's the highest CPU power. This is the flaw in the Bitcoin's armor. Any attacker that can account for 51% of the network's total hashing power, solving the algorithm. Remember in the beginning of the slide, I actually said it uses CPU power to provide the cryptographic function. So the network's total hashing power can create their own blockchain and pour work into it faster than the main blockchain updates. And one of the chief problems with this is that the 51% network can double spend coins all the things that the blockchain is not supposed to do. And how they do this is by simply removing the transactions from its own blockchain after spending them. Haha. So if you are able to get 51% of the computing power in the blockchain, you can actually change the older blockchains and plug them into the nodes, and it will get validated as correct. So a mining pool with control of 51% of the network hash rate can make certain addresses unspendable by rejecting transactions aimed at those addresses. It can drive other pools out of business by refusing to incorporate their data, thereby orphaning their blocks. So this is the problem, and there are very big mining houses that do own large portions of the mining network. So this is actually a concern. Okay, so I'd like to say thanks for watching. Cheers.